I'm Simon Hill. I'm the CEO and founder of Wazoku, and it would be lovely to see faces if people are willing to turn their cameras on. It's nice to see some smiley faces wherever people are. I know it is exhausting sitting in front of a camera all day, but hello to everyone that's brave and bold enough to show me your Zoom backgrounds. We also really want to get some conversation going, right? Again, I appreciate that lots of sitting around in rooms, listening, scribbling notes and everything else is important. But actually what we wanted to do was serve up a forum where people can ask us questions. What's your burning topics, right? You can listen to our advice all day long, but actually, how do we answer your burning questions? And I know Mats is primed, so we're going to talk as little as we can. Certainly I am. Mats has some amazing content and as Samantha said, some really big ambitions and a big role to take on at Sandvik. And I thank him personally for giving us the time this morning to share that with you. But we'll talk as little as we can and then try and open the floor up to as many questions as possible. For people that don't know the Wazoku business, and there are a few friendly faces popping up on screen, and there's a number of Wazoku clients speaking across this specific session that innovators are running. Directly after this, Anela talking, another Wazoku client on their initiatives. I'd certainly recommend you stick on for that talk as well. But for people that don't know us, we have a very unique proposition out in the market. Firstly, we have, since the days that I founded the business, been uniquely positioned as a for-profit, for-purpose business. We are ourselves a carbon net zero company. We hopefully will achieve B Corp status very soon. I'd hope that we would by now, but it's a long process at the moment to achieve that. And we believe very much that innovation and sustainability are two sides of the same coin. I know that's something that Mats will add more to later. And there are a number of things that believe that for me, that the innovators in our organizations and the sustainability focused agenda that I believe has to come all the way from the top really do need to be working hand in hand, that there are unique skills that the innovation teams and the innovation people in our businesses can bring to bear for the whole organization and the whole system to benefit. I firmly believe as a CEO of a growth company that this topic is the most important topic we have to deal with, right? And I think that's also why I love the work that Sandvik are doing, Sandvik are doing, sorry, I'm looking at Mats's name there, that Sandvik are doing, because this is a C-level and board level driven initiative as well. To share a few examples of what this looks like from my perspective. So innovation at scale. And again, Mats is going to talk a little bit about the 100,000 plus ideas that they look to source from across their network soon, is how do we think big, right? These big challenges need new approaches. Over the years, we've been lucky enough to work with brands like Sandvik, NASA, defense and government organizations, and some of the biggest household brands that you will know on a number of sustainability related topics. Not only that, but we believe passionately in giving a voice to everybody across this change program. And sustainability, or ESG, however we may wish to cut it, really is about giving that open voice to as many people across the change process as we possibly can as well. So as I've said before, I believe that innovation at scale, innovation and sustainability really are kind of hand in glove in terms of the initiatives that we're looking to drive. We have a number of resources that we'll be sharing following today's sessions as well, which we'd like to be able to share with you. Very much at the heart of what we believe as a business is that we need to take a problem-centered mindset to the way that we work, right? We can't tackle these huge global systemic challenges without trying to, first of all, break them down into bite-sized, manageable chunks of work, right? They're too big, they're too hairy, and also they're not unique to our own, they're not directly within our control, right? We're having to work across our supply chains. We're having to work across broad ecosystems to drive very, very complex change. As I said earlier, we achieved net zero status as a company last year. And as a business of less than 100 people with a relatively simple supplier base and a relatively simple setup, it was still very, very difficult to achieve that as an organization. And therefore, we have a deep level of sympathy, empathy, and understanding of what larger organizations are facing in achieving very, very ambitious goals. And certainly Sandvik's goals, as I hand over to Matt, are extremely ambitious. And finally, I'm just going to leave with this idea that from your organizational perspective, I believe this has to be C-level led, and ideally it has to be board level led as well. For me, as I said, as the CEO and founder of our business, if I weren't directly behind the work that we were doing, if we weren't really championing the sustainability message within the companies that we work with, but also walking the talk as well from our own perspective, then I think that we have zero chance of achieving the ambitious goals that we are setting as organizations. So I'm very excited to hand over to Matt to put real meat on the bone of the work that Sandvik are doing. Right, it is a phenomenal set of goals that they have set themselves. I'm extremely proud, as Matt's told me when he brought me on board. I said, why did you choose to partner with Wazoku on this, and what was it about? And he said, he told me that he is a gaming geek who is very, very hard to please. And so it was great to pass the Matt Lundberg, or the Matt W Lundberg perspective and adjudication. But also, really, I'm just super proud to be part of the journey that Sandvik have set themselves over the next sort of 9-10 years of where they're working towards. Big, ambitious, hairy, long-term, C-level backed goals as an organization is exactly where I want to see organizations be. And I'm proud to be part of it. So without further ado, Matt, I'll hand over to you to sort of introduce the Sandvik business, introduce the work that you're doing, and then hopefully open the floor up to some really good questions.
All right. Thank you, Simon. I'm going to share my screen and my sound here, and hopefully you will get my presentation up on the screen. And if, let's see, someone can give a thumbs up that you actually see something, would be great.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So just a quick summary. Who am I? My name is Mats W Lundberg. The W is not to be special in any way whatsoever. It's just that we have more people called Mats Lundberg in the company. And if you want to get hold of me or find me, connect through LinkedIn, you need to have that W to get to the right one. My background is I'm an engineer. I have a PhD in chemistry. I've worked as a sales guy. I've worked as a postdoc, and I have had a scientist position abroad. And then I started working at Sandvik 11 years ago as a senior researcher, then a specialist and in R&D and innovation. And then after 7 years in the company, I sort of switched track and started working with sustainability. And soon after that, I became head of sustainability in one of our business areas. And since December last year, I'm the head of sustainability at Sandvik Group, and I want to talk about how we as engineering group are going to make the sustainability shift. But to do that, you need to understand what type of company we are. So I want to give you sort of a short intro into what we are and what we are doing. So we're a global company. We have sales in over 160 countries. We have roughly 40,000 employees. And in a normal year without the pandemic, we have about 10 billion euros or 100 million SEK in revenues. And of that, we use about 4 billion in R&D. So we have 55 global R&D centers and over 6,000 active patents. So R&D being in the forefront, being cutting edge is our bread and butter. That is where we come from. And the company was founded 159 years ago. And the company motto, so to say, is to help the customer become better. So we have three major areas where we are, cutting edge. So the first one, of course, metal cutting and machining solutions, and we have the top brands in the world is under our umbrella, and then we're in mining and rock technology, and I will give you an example later on what we're doing there as well. And then we're in the advanced material knowledge sector. So we have advanced alloy and a steel mill producing I would say, advanced and not regular type of steel grades. So when I try to summarize what Sandvik is doing to someone like you guys that maybe don't know Sandvik, and I try to summarize it, if it's easy, we're not doing it. We're just doing difficult things, and we try to be number one or number two in every business we're doing. So that also explains the R&D and the amount of money we put into innovation, because we realize this is where we can make the most money, but also, of course, have the biggest impact. So I want to show you a video so you get a bit of feel of what the different areas we are in. And at the end there, you saw our new purpose for the company, advancing the world through engineering. And that is, I would say, the very heart of what Sandvik DNA is all about. And connecting that sort of purpose is very closely related, of course, to sustainability. And you see in this ring, we have the 6 focus areas going forward with our company. And one of these shifts that we're going to work with is the sustainability shift. And this is, of course, my area of expertise and what I have full focus on going forward. But what is quite clear with our company right now is that we're trying to integrate sustainability into our business in every aspect, to make sustainability not only something that needs to be reported on, but also something that drives business, that we will, by using sustainability and the tools and sustainability in the right way, will actually give us a business advantage. It will help our stakeholders become even more profitable, and the talent retention will be greater, and we will have customers will be our first choice, and so on. So from this, we have our sustainability goals and targets, and Simon was kind to tell that they're quite bold, and we like bold. That's Sandvik in a nutshell. We don't like to do simple things, and if they're simple, we need to push forward. So when we set these goals, we wanted goals with teeth. Goals should be challenging. They should give you a lump in your stomach, that it doesn't feel quite good, that you're not knowing how to solve these problems, that you need to step out of your comfort zone, that you need to innovate, that you need to move forward and not do business as usual. So when we decided to set these sustainability goals, we selected a few areas, and you can, of course, if you look at an ESG matrix, pick millions of different approaches, but we looked at what is material for our types of businesses. And it boiled down to 4 main areas that we want to put extra emphasis on and extra focus. And the first one, we built circularity. We said that we want to be more than 90% circular. And if you know anything about circularity, in the world today, you're about 80% circular. So 90% is a really, really tough and advanced goal. But we believe that we know quite well our value streams. And this goal, yeah, we might not make 90%, but if we reach 85, that will be fantastic. Same with 75, but the target is 90. And the reason here is we know that there is great business connected to this as well. If you go more circular, you will actually save a lot of money. You will do a lot of good for the planet, and it connects very clearly to the climate change, which is our second big target. And here we decided, yeah, until 2030, we need to halve our CO2 impact. And the reasoning for this is, of course, the Paris Agreement, and then climate change is ongoing. And this is the, I would say, most important goal for humanity right now, that this is something we cannot fail to do. But when we set this target as well, we decided that we're not going to pick easier or comfortable baseline to work from. We are not going to go back and find a nice number from 2005 or 1990. We decided to put the baseline for the average between 2016 and 18, and these goals were set in 2019. So we decided, let's dig where we stand. Let's address the problem, head on, what it looks like. We need to reduce the CO2 impact as it is, not as it were way back with a simpler number. And after that, we said, well, champion people and zero harm to people has always been a core value for Sandvik. What we decided to do there is, of course, to keep on doing and keep on working like we always worked with safety and occupational illnesses, and also make sure that every employee would be offered a health and well-being program. But what we also did in all of these goals was to add the suppliers and the customers to ask questions or help out customers to involve their programs. So not only looking at ourselves and our own business, but the entire value chain. How can we make sure everything along the suppliers, operation, and customers improves for the future? And then finally, again, a value that's really core to Sandvik is we play fair. We should always do the right thing. We are stepping out of businesses that we could make a lot of money, but they are not in line with our ethics. And also in this, we have, put a higher focus and increased focus on transparency on our sustainability targets and results, because that's the only way to really push forward. And if you go into the Sandvik webpage and look at these targets and read all the fine print that's on this this presentation, you realize that all of these targets that are displayed are measurable. There's nothing here that you can't go out and actually measure. And that this is very intentional, being an engineering company, that what gets measured gets done. And we're driving this not only from a 2030 perspective. Just 1.5 months ago, we also put down our 2025 targets. So the 2025 target is basically half of everything you read here. So halving the CO2 till 2030 means we're going to be 25% at 2025 for CO2. So we are very ambitious, we're very focused, and we have structure on key activities and what results we want to achieve. But of course, you can always put up a fancy slide like this and have nice colors and say, oh, we're going to do everything. But how do you actually drive this? How do you get the change to really happen. To do that, we added 5 enablers. We have performance management, that we will integrate the incentive program, the bonus basically for managers to have sustainability targets. We have the Ideas Hub, and I will come back to that, which is this 100,000 sustainability ideas. We also put in a prize, a Sustainable Business Award, that we give out at the annual meeting for the shareholders, in parallel when we give out the medal for innovation. So these 2 medals are presented at the same time. And then strengthening the governance, making sure that all of these targets and goals that you see on this page actually are implemented into the Sandvik way, the procedures and policies in the steering document. So it's not just a paper tiger, it's something real. And then again, transparency. Without transparency, ESG is worth basically nothing. You need to be very transparent with the good and with the bad. Otherwise, you won't have progress. So you actually have transparency twice in this sustainability target diagram. And we think sustainability connects extremely well with innovation. And I want to show you another video, an example on how sustainability and innovation actually goes very nicely hand in hand from one of our business area, in this case, mining.
Autonomy is revolutionizing the mining industry. You can expect the future to bring more. The next generation of autonomous mining is soon here, with equipment that finds its own way around, seeing everything better than you or I would see it, sensing what's there and what shouldn't be there. Machines that plan the best routes in a fraction of a second, making the right decisions, whatever the conditions, and leaving no emissions. You'll work the same mine, but in so many different, smarter ways. The next generation of autonomous mining. Faster, easier, and a lot more productive.
So that's the Automine concept. And what's so special about an autonomous mining truck, you might think? Well, you've probably heard and seen Tesla talking about driving autonomously. Well, yeah, they've done that semi-good, right? But this is what we do on a regular basis. This type of truck can pick up in pitch dark, pick up the mineral, drive 50 kilometers per hour, having 10 centimeter clearance on the side, and just swoosh by and deliver. And if you would be down in the mine and accidentally step out in the way, it would detect and brake without you being hurt. And why is this important? Well, if you want to have a green or eco-friendly mobile device, you want all the components in that device to have a sustainable chain from the raw materials being used to assembly to delivery until you get it in your hand. And this part is the raw materials. And if you look at today, maybe people are not that concerned about buying an eco-friendly phone. You can buy eco-friendly phones, but there are not many out there. But in the future, probably most phones have to be, or most electronics have to be more eco-friendly. Otherwise, you have a poorer result when you try to sell it and market it. And then you need to have sustainable mining. And this is the first step, because you want to know where you dug up the material, what is the mineral, what is the emissions connected. You want to have blockchain technology telling you where it was mined, how much energy was consumed, how much water was consumed, and so on. And when designing this type of autonomous vehicle as well, you put the people that usually work down in the mine on top of the mine, or maybe even in a different part of the world, controlling the mine completely off-site. And that's good from safety point of view. It's good also from environmental point of view of the operator, because being down in a mine takes a toll on the operator, of course, in comparison to sitting in a comfy chair in an office running these, or many of these, autonomously and just having oversight. So when designing products, designing new innovation, sustainability should be at the heart, already at the drawing board, already in the innovation stage of this. And when we look at innovation and when we want to look for the future of Sandvik's products, we want to integrate sustainability into the ideas of the new products and the future products. And what we did early on in this process, setting these target, was that we want an ideas hub. And to begin with, an ideas hub sounds like, okay, so it's like a mailbox where you can submit your ideas. Well, yes, if you want to put it that simple, yes, it's a mailbox, but we wanted it to be much, much more. We wanted it to be an idea generation space, an ideation space, but we wanted it to work, in all our 160 countries where we're present. We wanted it to be a place to be inspired. So we started to look at possible solutions. And as Simon said, I'm a picky customer, and I've been using computers since the beginning of the 1980s. And I really wanted something that was simple to use, but flexible, but also possible to change and adapt to different needs, because everyone doesn't approach innovation and ideas in the same space. And also, I didn't want this to only be for the engineers. I wanted this place to be for everyone. And the reason is, usually when you look at someone with my title, say, okay, you're the one going to fix sustainability. And I very much disagree. Yes, I have the title, but it's not just my job. So when I started to form this idea and discussing with other people, saying why we should have this idea space for sustainability, and they say, well, okay, why don't you call it sustainability ideas hub? Well, I said, all ideas or innovations should be sustainable. Otherwise, they're not really good ideas, right? We're not going to put bad ideas and innovations onto the market, because going forward, ESG will be more and more important. And this platform is for everyone. HR has the same responsibility as comms, as me, as the CEO, as the blue collar on the factory floor. Everyone should have access. The problem I see with many of these idea boxes is that it's just for the engineers. And everyone else feel a bit uncomfortable going in there because the engineer geeks are there and roaming around and claiming innovation space. So I wanted to democratize the process and also make everyone responsible. And also, I believe many people out there have ideas. And another thing, which is classic in organizations that are as big as ours, is silos. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. How do we open them up? How do we get involvement and engagement between silos? And a platform like this, if it's easy to use and you can invite your colleagues, you can tap your friend on the shoulder saying, well, I saw this great idea, you should be involved. Then it becomes so much easier to have a good innovation journey. And then as well, in big global organizations, inclusion is key for success. And on a platform which is accessible, open for everyone, single sign in, very easy to use. You can have it on your phone or go through a browser. Then you can start building new bridges within the company. It doesn't matter if you're head of sustainability or if you're blue collar, you could still collaborate on the same project, even though you're not in the same country or in the same organization or even in the same business area. So from our point of view, we really want to mix things up. And also that this ideas hub, it shouldn't only be big ideas. It should be every ideas. Big, small ideas, it doesn't matter. Every idea is a good idea. And why do we want to have, all ideas? Well, from ideas comes insights. And insights generate new ideas. And from those ideas, you get more insights and you build both knowledge and you collaborate and you find even more ideas. So we want to get this chain reaction going. We want people to feed off each other's ideas. And when you go into this innovation hub or this ideas hub, you also want to be impressed. You want to look around and see, I'm in a really cool company. We're on this fantastically cool journey. And I'm surrounded by innovative, engaged people. And you see that if you go into a place like this. So this will also be like a wall of fame of ideas and implementation and suggestions. And as I said in the beginning, we want goals with teeth. So there's 100,000 ideas or innovations until 2030. When people see this number, they're usually, wow, that's a big number. How are you going to achieve that? And then I'd start, well, if you're an engineer and look at that number, okay, 40,000 employees, so 2.5 ideas per person, and then you have until 2030. That's not very difficult, is it? So actually, when I proposed this idea way back, I said 1 million ideas, but I had to back it down to 100,000 because people got so scared. But I think when you have this type of ideation space, you make everyone accountable. Everyone is responsible for progressing this subject, and also everyone has access and the possibility to change this subject. Because if you're in the R&D department, you know who you should talk to. But if you're not in the R&D department, you don't know who you should talk to get an idea going. And this becomes the sort of common playground for everyone to innovate and share new ideas. So now I'm wondering if you have any questions or ideas or insights.
Thank you, Mats. I think there's probably a lot of questions that people have and want to ask. So 2 things is I'd ask for anybody who wants to ask questions, you can feel free to either type them in the chat, and or if you raise your hand, then I can invite you to come off of mic and to ask Mats your questions. One thing that I'd like to start off with is you've got some really big goals and ambitions. I think that's incredible because I think that's what we need in the world. But how do you measure and report success? Like more specifically, what has your success been to date on the goals that you stated at the beginning of the presentation, but also on the 100,000 ideas?
Okay, let's start with the 100,000 ideas then. What we've done so far is that we've run 3 pilots. And the reason we did these pilots was to test out, language, test out different organization, and test out how you can modify the back end of the software, basically. So we did 3 different locations, 3 different types of businesses, and 3 different type of organizations as well, and languages. So that's sort of the starting shot. And what we're doing right now is setting up the project manager for the project going forward, how we're going to roll it out to the entire company. And I don't want to shove the project down anyone's throat. This should be a pull instead of a push. So we're going to market this really hard to join the cool crowd. If you're not here, you're square, basically, and not tell everyone you have to do this because this is the Ideas Hub and you have to log in. That will never work. But we want this to be the cool place, and we're going to push that really well. So we want to find ambassadors throughout the company, and then we're going to market all the cool ideas and suggestions coming out from the Ideas Hub. So right now, I'll just give you one example. We had this pilot in Tines in Norway. It's like 250 participants, and they set up a goal. We want one idea implemented from the pilot, and the pilot ran like for 6 weeks. Right now, they're sitting there with this challenge they put out to say, well, you can win an electric bike as well. That's cool. The winner gets an electric bicycle. Right now, they're sitting with a problem. They have 25 ideas that are all good, that they all want to implement, and they don't have 25 bikes. So we're not worried about 100,000 ideas. I'm sure we're going to overshoot without any doubt. But that's the situation, and that's sort of the early success, and it's just in the beginning.
Okay, so just on that, you mentioned really cool and make it exciting, but you still need to be able to get buy-in from the managers of all the departments as well as senior management to support, right? So a few questions for you on it is, how were you able to do that and get buy-in on the ambitious program, but also to get the managers engaged? And then lastly, as you're going through this process, what are you learning? Like, what are the challenges that you're facing, and what's working and what isn't working?
Well, everything is working, but let's start with the buy-in, because I think most people are wondering, how did you manage to pull this off? Because we have buy-in all the way to the board level. This program, what you saw with this big Sustainability S, this is approved by the Sandvik board, signed off by the Sandvik board. So this is what we're going with. And how did we get there? Well, a lot of groundwork, and also I think it was a question of timing it quite nicely. When we started to put these ideas together, I was in this group deciding these goals, and I said, one thing that we really need to have an answer to is the climate change question. What are we going to do about it? And what sort of made it tip over and why it got it implemented was that we got the questions from the owners at the annual meeting. And I think that is quite powerful when the owners and the shareholders are asking uncomfortable questions. It helps the process along, definitely. The other thing was that we said sustainability is grounded in business. We can make money out of this. And then you get people's attention, because if you're coming with a plaque saying we're going to save the whales, it's admirable, but that will not get the attention of senior management. But if you tell them you're going to make money, you're going to save money, we're going to reduce risk, and at the same time we're going to increase the plant value, you talked money with them, and that's what they love to hear. And then you sort of established common ground and realized that if you do this right, you will actually get a more increased bonus. And I think often when you talk about sustainability, you forget the connect, that this is really good business if you drive it correctly. But if you just do it because you want to run with this plaque, you will not get the attention. And we very early on, this is good for every stakeholder. It's good for the shareholders, good for customers, good for the employees. It's good for talent retention and talent attraction. Why shouldn't we do it? We're stupid if we don't do it. So I think
I was going to say, I think that answer is actually one of the questions from Eugenio around how do you align innovation, sustainability, and business goals. But I know one of the questions that he had as well was, how do you break those silos between the business units?
Well, I think the sustainability goals opens up these silos. And one example we have is that we're starting to see collaboration across business areas now that we've never seen before just because of sustainability. And they see that we have common denominators regarding circularity, for example. We can help each other out to become better. And you realize that shared value is better than having no market or business at all. So then you realize, okay, if I stretch out my hand and give support, I will benefit, and my colleagues will benefit, and the customer will benefit. That's good for customer value as well. So I think all these goals, as they are tied to business, have helped to break these silos, because everyone are starting to talk about these new type of business opportunities, building new sustainable business models that never existed before, that you can realize, okay, instead of selling a product, we could rent it per month, or we could support the customer in a different way. So I think we are sort of innovating new modes of business, and that becomes the way to break the silos. And then hopefully we think that this Ideas Hub will do a big part of that work as well.
And I think that the Ideas Hub is, I love the layout of it and the idea behind it and the way that you're approaching it. A question that I know a few people have asked, and I also have myself, is having launched a similar project in the past, is when you get all of these ideas, I have no doubt you're going to get 100,000. You might even get more. But how do you actually prioritize and decide which ideas are the best ones to work on, and related not just to today, but the future of the business?
And that is very important, and that's why I don't want to push it out over the entire organization at once. That's why I want to have the pull, because if you have engaged managers and engaged business units working on it, you also have the understanding that this connects well to business, but also improves operational excellence and helps out the customer, and the flexibility of this software also creates how you deal with ideas, who should be in charge of the next step, going through different toll gates going along the way. So that is what we wanted as well. We don't want people to submit ideas and then they're forgotten. And I told them that you're not allowed to put up an Ideas Hub if you're not going to take care of the ideas. Then you're disqualified. You need to have someone in charge of this.
Yeah.
And I think that is key, because many of these Ideas Hubs before that I've seen, you have your post box, put in your idea below. They fail because you're not seeing the person, not connecting to the person who actually posted the idea. And then you can say, well, we're not doing something with the idea right now because X, Y, and Z, but we've put it here for later, or we need to evolve your idea. We want you to connect to that guy, that woman over there, and that person over there, because it is good, but it needs improvement. So we want also to have like a maturity hub that these ideas grow gradually, and also trying to connect or transfer ideas across silos. So my job in a way is also to look at, this great idea was in this business, but you can implement it over here in a different business with a different approach, but the ground of the idea is good and can be implemented elsewhere. So I'm not saying it's simple, but I think it has to be in that way, that it's a pull and not a push. Otherwise, it will be an instant failure.
Completely.
Can I just add to that a little bit, Samantha, as well? So I mentioned in the upfront piece, I mentioned it in my introduction up front, this methodology that we have called challenge-driven innovation. And for me, this is a key part of it as well, right? Asking for generic ideas creates a problem one step further down the road of too many generic ideas. Like, we need to align the ideas that we are soliciting from anybody in our value chain, whether it's our employees or beyond, directly to specific problems that we're trying to solve in the organization, that have specific pain points, specific owners, specific accountability, and specific budgets. And if we do that, then those ideas will come anywhere. And that's why it also breaks down the silos, right? These challenges are not localized to one team, one business unit, or anywhere else. We're trying to solve problems in every division every day that have direct impact on all of the goals that Mats is talking about. We're just not doing it in the most efficient way. And actually, by opening this up, you remove duplication, you improve knowledge sharing, and you will actually drive solutions back faster and more effectively than through other approaches. It just takes a mindset shift, right? And I think that's a part of it. And that's where the at scale piece comes in, by embracing a different way of solving these problems than we do today.
Great. And I think just on that mind shift piece, one of the questions that had popped up before, specifically around as you were, developing the business case for like the executive team, is how did you make such a business case? Like, what were the estimates that you used, and how did you determine what the ROI would be?
Well, that is something that always comes up, and I think we have a CEO that we had a discussion just a few weeks back regarding growth, and he coined it very nicely. Growth and sustainability is just two sides of the same coin, because you always look at sustainability in business as opposites, that they are conflicting targets, and they're not. And when you start realizing that doing sustainability in a smart way is good business, all of these problems and ROIs and so forth fades away. Because if you just take the simple target here now, say like 50% CO2 until 2030. What does this mean if, or rather when we succeed? Well, everything we produce today will be twice as good from a CO2 footprint by 2030. This means we will have a better product when we come to the customer. Okay, so we will take market shares if the customer is interested in ESG. And just ask the audience here, do you think ESG will be important in the future? Gee, let me think. Of course it will. And it will be even more important in the future. They're already now talking about, just Volvo last week said, we're going to make the first net zero car by 2030. Okay, so where are you going to buy the material? Which tools are you going to use? Okay, hello, welcome to Sandvik. We're in the same country. We can help you. We can give you all of this if you come and talk to us. So absolutely, it's a business proposition. And when you start looking at it as a business and not, oh, we have to do this to save the whales. Yeah, of course, we're saving the whales, but doing business is key here. And then you integrate it into the business, integrate it into the thinking, to the innovation. And then you not only have a great product with great properties, you also have a sustainable product with great properties. That's very difficult to beat.
So on that, and we've got time for one last question. One of the questions that came up from the audience was, you mentioned that Sandvik knows very well its value chain. How much of this has helped to justify value to stakeholders and customers and employees? And did it also motivate to change business models?
Well, we're starting on the journey, and these targets are set for 2030. We have the name Make the Shift, and this shift is not only a shift of physically changing the business, changing furnaces and all this that you have to do, but also it's a mental shift. It's a journey to learn how to think differently, because we are accustomed with having a very straight, very fine, buy, make, dispose type of thinking. So we need to relearn. We need to innovate new ways of working. So we're not there yet. We're not perfect, but we have ambitions. We have integrated these sustainability values into our supplier code of conduct. We're going to ask the difficult question to the suppliers. They're not perfect. We're not perfect. But if we collaborate, we can become better. And that is the entire idea. We want to be better tomorrow than we are today. And if everyone in the value chain does that, the world will become better. And then we have done our work. And the cool thing, while doing this, we will have made money. We are going to be profitable doing it.
I see a lot of smiles and a lot of heads nodding, and I think we all agree that that's something that we all aspire to. And thank you for the inspiration. Really appreciate your time, Mats, and really appreciate your time today as well, Simon. And for anybody who's got more questions, because I know there was a ton of questions, I will save those and post them on the platform, but feel free to reach out to Mats or to Simon on the Innovators platform to ask any more questions that you might have. And also for those of you who want to join the next session, Abby has just posted in the chat the link to the next session. So thank you again, Mats and Simon, and thank you everybody who attended today's session for your engagement and your energy, because it's been great to have you all here and to keep the conversation going. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.